And we're rolling. Hello, Pflugerville, Texas, and Shana Tovah. Welcome to the year 5784 on the Jewish calendar. So far, the year is off to a good start. A nice wet start. Had about 4 inches of rain. I'm probably going to babble on far too long here. The high holy days approach. I have a lot to atone for. Today marks my third month in Pflugerville. When I first came here, I made a series of very successful videos. I was up to around 12 to 1,500 views with only 6 or 8 videos, about 6 videos. And then I picked up a convicted child rapist, which kind of changed my mood. Mood is everything, as I tell my best friend, my loved ones, and my students. Mood is everything. I'm in a good mood today because the rain was refreshing. It was much needed. All the beautiful plants and trees that God gave us surround me and make life bearable. Just look across the street there. It's like almost being in the country, right? And on this Yom Kippur, I have a lot to atone for because it was exactly 92 days ago, 3 months ago, that purely for homosexual and racial reasons, I was first robbed by a 59-year-old black transvestite prostitute who attacked me from the left, knowing that my left arm doesn't work, stole my telephone, and his exact words were, "That's what you get for recording me and my boy." He was trying to seduce the handsome clerk at the 7-Eleven in the middle of the night. Long story. And then a few minutes later, another biracial, black, identifies as black, gay man tried to kill me by hitting me with a tree limb that's shaped exactly like a bat and the same size as a bat right here on the jaw. Left me with looking like a goiter for weeks. So I was a little shy when I first came to Pflugerville. People were very generous and nice to me and receptive and so on. But as I've come to find, I expected it. I didn't get these white hairs out of a bottle of shoe polish. They come with age, acquisition of data, that's called intelligence, and that thing that they kind of undefinable thing they call, well, wisdom and knowledge are pretty much the same thing. But it took me quite a while. Actually, I was running into quite a few nut bags right off the bat here, although I was presenting Pflugerville for what it is, which is a vast improvement over Austin. But it didn't take until recently before I pissed off, because see, in every population, there's very few exceptions to the rule. Actually, it gets higher depending on the population. But in every population, you can count on a minimum of 1%. And here in Pflugerville, it's the standard 2% are psychopaths. I ran across one of those psychopaths, a desperately lonely man, appears to be a meth user, all sorts of, son is a meth user, meth dealer, drug thief, yada, yada. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know I need to shave, but then shaving really isn't a Jewish thing. And these are the high holy days coming up. uh, Before getting into the psychopath, because actually there had to be three of them, because there had to be somebody to supply an alibi during the attempted murder. So that's three of them. Pflugerville has 70,000 residents. That means you have 700 minimum, 1%, 700 psychopaths here, also sometimes referred to as sociopaths. Whereas in Austin, you find pockets, especially like in those condos and stuff like that, in those tech buildings, you run into populations that are easily 80% psychopaths who absolutely do not care, have no remorse if they take every last dime that you have selling you some bogus product. That's a psychopath. And all over Austin, I'd say Austin in general is, because Austin has attracted psychopaths from all over the world. That's why they come there, is to exercise their right to be a psychopath and to defund the police and generally live in a lawless, wild, wild west community where you can get away with and do anything you want to do in Austin. It's not the same here in Pflugerville. You know, I see the cops running all day and night. They take care of business here. And I didn't file a complaint about the attempted murder because it's useless. I mean, the guy's hiding behind a complete shield of alibis, and you know he's always probably in the front row at church every Sunday morning, yada yada, and got you guys completely fooled. You can't fool me. One of the first things, I'll get back to what I need to atone for. Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Shana Tovah, Shana Tovah. Good year, 5784. But when I first arrived in Pflugerville, because all the attacks on me were of a homosexual nature and of a racist nature, part of that being a Jew. They knew I was Jewish. Actually, I've had to stop wearing a kippah, a skull cap, a yarmulke, because it just targets me. They just want to snatch it off my head and beat me in the head and stuff like that. It's been going on. This is my now beginning of going into my third year of being homeless. I've pretty much given up on recovering my home, even though I hold all the equity. It is my home. I don't know if I want to return to my home county because all the corruption and evil, you know, sitting in the. So the worst. My mother always told me that if you want to find the biggest criminals in town, just look in the front row, of church every Sunday morning. That's where you'll find them. So when I first came up here, I had a lot of difficulty adjusting to the fact that black people here were much kinder. They have been in general kinder to me. But I did notice, I want to point this out, I'm probably going to go 15 minutes, that on the first night that it was really warm, where I mean it didn't get below 97, 98 degrees right at sunrise, all of a sudden I heard this sudden increase in the thumpa cars, droopy drawers, guys getting out of their car, walking up to 7-Eleven or to Starbucks with no shirt on because they got no air conditioning in their hoopty and stuff, and quickly realized, what I was seeing was a meth-fueled kind of incursion or excursion out of Austin of people just driving around trying to stay cool, and we got all that meth going on, and they were just, and actually when you get into this area you can tell the drop in temperature because on either sides of the highway and all around here, there are many square miles of open, cool grasslands, forests. So the minute you get clear of all that concrete and tarmac, you can tell you're in a different place. And they started showing up at 5, 6 o'clock, at 5 o'clock in the morning at the 7-Eleven coming in to, get whatever. So, populations do shift and move around and so on. But I have had several really good, reinforcing contacts with black people that will help me to atone for the ill feelings that I had that for a while there were extending to all black people, because actually down in Austin, it does, my feelings towards black people in Austin is radically different, because almost every one of them is a psychopath, sociopath, thief, drunk, drug addict, useless, robbed their grandmother and not even flinch, not even have the slightest bit of remorse for doing that. Steal every last penny that their grandmother got and leave them hanging. That's most of what Austin is. It really embarrasses me. I'll remind you one more time. I'm Thomas Kent Kruger. I'm the great-grandson of William Wayne Hill. He was brother-in-law, one of his 3 brother-in-laws. He had 3 wives. This was, 66 years before polygamy was outlawed. If you were rich, you could have as many wives as you wanted. It was his idea to come here to Texas and, develop Texas. And Stephen Fuller Austin was his Spanish-speaking brother-in-law who did his part in all this. Anyway, so local black folks but it's still got that Jewish aspect to it. It's still got a racial kind of component to it. Sorry, I got to rest that arm for a second. It's been now at least, I'm sorry. Yeah, do need do a little trimming. But it's been now more than a dozen days. I don't think you can. I know I can still feel it. It's right there. That's where the ice pick was shoved into my neck and up to my skull. The hole is still visible. This is where I would say that this person started out, because usually psychopaths are partly genetic and partly familial. That's where they learn to be psychopaths, is they have a history of coming from broken or messed up families. I don't really know much about his family because he never talks about it. He's obviously a meth addict. And he's also a Jesus addict. And he's got that, and he started out in the classic sociopathic, psychopathic way of invading my life. And I knew right off the bat he was moving too fast. That's why I kept slowing him down. And he had obviously been observing me from Starbucks for months. I'm very leery of anybody that's spent a lot of time at Starbucks observing me. And he kind of decided to move into my life. He was willing to accept my receipt of my bank card. And I told him, no, let's just wait. He was actually trying to move me into his house when he had already told me things about his wife that's inappropriate, stuff like that, and told me all about the criminal behavior of his son, the fact that his house had been the target of a drive-by shooting It was kind of a tip-off right there that I'm dealing with a psychopath who uh, really doesn't have his limitations or has himself under control. So at least evil white folk, Christian white folk. Not that the black folks they all pretend the black psychopaths they all pretend to be black because it increases their mooching quotient. They get more money if they say God bless you. Actually, I've been reluctant to say God bless you to people around here because that's standard mooching operational procedure in Austin. Is these completely demon possessed, meth head, drunk, loser, steal their grandmother, rob their great grandmother blind kind of people. They'll always finish up with God bless you and all this stuff when they don't mean it for shit. So that's about the only I had like one brief period of when I really was reluctant to speak to or have any contact with black people here in Pflugerville because I didn't know that there were some better black people here. Whereas in Austin, you can count almost on every black person being some kind of thinking he's some kind of badass, thumper gangster type. And I want to remind you is that now that the cool weather is coming a little bit, they'll retreat back to the warmth of the concrete and the tarmac but for a while, for the last few weeks, we've had a serious increase in the thumper, droopy jaw, gangsta, nigga this, nigga that, crowd. Which all that does is just make me take my medication. Because you really do need, and they have for 34 years, have slowed down my homicidal reflexes. Let me finish with something right here. I've made these statements about how gay football is. I have the right to do that. I've been to the show. I've had you fuckers with your hands running all over me and touching me and smacking me on my naked ass. I have the right to have that perception. What you say about football means absolutely nothing to me. Zero. Just because you have this little dream world where you're this big Babbitry football fan and there's nothing wrong with your sexual orientation or your attraction to young boys and you know you know wanting to get up there and smell them dirty sweaty jock straps and shit. Yeah, that doesn't mean shit to me, not one fucking bit. Now I forgot where I was going with. Shana Tovah. Happy New Year. And I genuinely pray that some of you people, actually all of you, get a grasp on what's going on here. I'm talking to the Karens as well as the rainbow people. And you all need to understand that we are going downhill rapidly. As far as I'm concerned, the end of days is near, where my Messiah will show up. I would like to kind of end this by telling y'all that The foods that you've been donating to me have been making me ill. I want to remind you once again, if you really want to help me, shekels are the best. That way I buy precisely what I need at that particular moment and so on. And to tell you the truth, you people are so wasteful. Just think about the idiot that left the toy bow and arrow the other day. That's like $10 just pissed away. I mean, people piss away money on foods that you think that I like, that make me ill, that I have to throw away, stuff like that. I kind of got off target here. I want it to be a little more philosophical, a little more educational, but I think a lot of it is I'm being distracted by the own traffic behind me. Maybe I'll make another one, but just wanted to say Shana Tovah, and welcome to the year 5784, the oldest calendar on this planet. And would like and ask that y'all respect my religious right as a 70-year-old man to not be in complete agreement with your religion. And please don't stab me in the neck again just because, I don't agree with you and never will agree with you. Because unlike you, I can read and I can comprehend better, far better than you. I cannot believe, I will finish with this at around 22 and a half minutes. I cannot believe the garbage translations of the Bible that people have been trying to get me to read. It angers me. Don't do that. Other than that, Happy New Year. And let's all have a slice of apple with a little honey on it. Let's enjoy the wonderful flavors and the sweetness of life before we atone for this past year's sins. Let's all celebrate for 2 days and then get on with Yom Kippur. That's it.